Okay. And back to the conversation, because I want to address something. So I said, okay, just for the record, there's no such thing as cord cutting. There isn't. Okay, let me stop there first. There is no such thing as cord cutting. You have an ethereal cord connected to you, and that cord is cut after you leave your physical body. It's just to keep you tied into the experience of being a human being. There's no cord that can be cut. If they cut the cord, you end up dead. There's no, the ethereal cord that's connected to your body is there to keep you grounded in that physical body, so you can experience the experience that you set yourself up for, so that your soul can grow. Nothing else. Okay? For each person is a part of the collective unconscious. Exactly. We are all a part of the collective conscious. And I did an example of how a pitcher of water can, and you dip a cup or pour some of that into a small cup, into another cup, and it's another cup, how it can have the illusion of being separate from the pitcher. But if you speak to that pitcher of positive stuff, the same thing happens to those little small glasses that's separated from it. Believe it or not. The same metaphysical properties that are being rearranged and transformed, the same thing happening to that same two cups that seems to be separate, which means there's no separation. Okay? I'm just saying, there's no thing, such thing as that separation. So just thinking that you're separate is an illusion. And I mentioned this before, and I want to go back into the session. I said cutting yourself off from one person would have a ripple effect, and many others would also be cut off if that was possible. So the same cup that was separate from the big pitcher of water, if I took that and poured a little bit of that in another cup, is it separate from each other? It gives the illusion because you're thinking in a physical form it is. But whenever I speak to this, the same thing happens to this. Okay? Period, point blank. That's an illusion. The illusion is the separation. Okay? And in my studies of doing past life regressions, I've done over 12,000 of them. Of that, close to 600 videos on my YouTube channel where I do them live, not orchestrated, nothing of that nature, doing it live. If that is not enough evidence for me to be capable of having this conversation about the soul, then I don't know what will. I'm basically a scientist of the soul, based upon my studies and experience. So I sort of have a understanding of how the soul works to some degree, more than most people, not all people, but most people who do not have the opportunity to do as much sessions as I have. So I sort of comment of, you just, I get that you want to seem more knowledgeable. And I'm like, sugar, this ain't knowledge, this wisdom. I experience these things. This is something that I do live in front of you, and I'm bewildered by what I see and experience through these people. So I'm not coming at you to try to bash you, or I'm just trying to spit some game, put you on point. If you are an older soul, then this is for you. But if an old soul or mature soul, but if you're a young soul, then continue doing what you're doing, sugar. Keep on cutting them cords for those people who feel as if you're cutting cords for. Because it seems as if I offended some people. Some people are like, oh, because I said to make that business. I don't want you to think that I'm trying to take bread out of your mouth or your family, because that's possibly how you make your money. I'm not doubting that. I'm not having a conversation with you. I'm talking to my older folks, the older souls, the mature and the old souls. Okay. All right. And as such, I said, the reason why you separated was so that you can be a vessel for source to be able to experience itself uh, through you and them separately, but at the same time, which means that, as you know, doing past life regressions and going into Akashic records, we understood the idea, the concept of soul fragments, which means that there are souls who are living on this earth who are also a part of your consciousness or your oversoul that is being experienced at the exact same time as you, but is not in your physical body. Sometimes it's just possible one of those persons may be a partner that you may experience. And well, let's just say you're trying to cut a cord of you and that person. Ain't you cutting yourself? Ain't you cutting your own cord? If that was possible, it isn't possible because the only cord you have is the ethereal cord that binds you to your physical body. There are things called contracts. That's the difference. All right. And I mentioned about sex, how sex is sort of the closest thing to feeling as if you are connected to that person physically, or I mean spiritually. It's the only thing what we have because we are bound by this three-dimensional world and experience that we forgot that we are all one in that way. All right. And I mentioned, don't let those young souls tell you any differently. And that is not to bash you or to put you down or belittle you. I want you to thrive. You need to go through the process of experiencing being in a victim mode almost always. Because that's what you're doing. You're just being a victim, but you're not a victim. You are a god, a goddess. You designed this whole thing. Your higher self did. I want you to understand that you wanting comfort over soul growth is a violation that your ego wants to partake in. Your soul wants growth, and growth does not happen with cushion, cotton candy, softness. Just ask a flower, ask a tree. You can get there without bursting out their own seeds, that's friction, bursting out through the sand, that's friction, having to deal with earthworms and all sort of things that are in the ground, all kind of bacteria, that's friction, bursting through rocks, that's friction, going in and getting beat by the sun, that's friction, the wind, that's friction, getting water pounded on them so they can grow, that's friction. Nothing happens without friction. Nothing. Could you imagine that seed say, man, I ain't trying to go through this shit. Can we cut the cord and I just sit down here in the soil? Just put a cocoon over me. I just want to be comfortable down here at the bottom. Because that's what you're doing. You are literally starting your own growth. So all you want to do is just be a seed and just stay in the ground. Don't go through nothing. I'm just saying. I'm just saying. You know, please, you older souls, if you see younger souls talking this, please do not drift back into being a young soul and thinking that you have to go through warfare that is beyond your physical body. Okay? What else I said? Anytime you see someone talking about spells and such and cord cutting, that's a young soul. I did not say anything wrong. It is true. You being a young soul does not make you inferior than an older soul or an old soul or a mature soul. It just have you to be where you are. You don't hear a teenager having an argument with an old person saying, you feel like you're more superior than me? No. They respect that older soul, that grandparent, that one that did there and been in the trenches and experienced. They don't have to take their advice, but they respect them for the knowledge or the wisdom that they have. They don't attack them. They don't make them feel as if they are holier than thou. They just say, yeah, grandpa, that's your experience, it's not mine. That's what you've been through, just a different generation. It's the exact same way, sugar. You're a young soul. It's all right. What I've been through from a soul perspective may not be what you're going through right now, but we are all experiencing the exact same moment on this earth. Don't look at me as if I'm looking or talking down to you. I'm speaking to you, through you, in you, not around you. Now, there's a way to connect to the contract that you both decided before being reincarnated, but it has to be approached from the soul and aligned with the soul wants and not what the ego wants. Okay? The ego wants comfort. I just read a comment on my post, and I read about in the conversation, it was about 10 eyes. I. And I get it. That's the conversation of a young soul. Whenever I hear anybody just talk about I, that is a young soul. I get where you're from. Maybe the message is not for you. Continue what you're doing, and it's beautiful. Just let that post. Just follow the astrology stuff, because this is not where you are spiritually. You're not there yet. Like I said, this does not make you inferior. It just makes you to be where you are. So I'm looking at it as always an attack on your ego. Please, I just want you to understand that. I'm going to say this again. There is no such thing as cord cutting, or you and a partner that your higher self decided on experiencing so that you can grow. That's the ego trying to undo what the soul has already set in place to be experienced for growth. So can you find yourself in that moment or that mode of victimization or being a victim? Tell yourself, I'm a goddess. I'm a god. I'm not a victim. I am a victor. You are nothing else but a god or a goddess. No one did this to you. In spirit world, you ask these people to play the role that they are playing in your life so that you can grow through friction. Not that so you can run away from it. Not that so you can cut an invisible cord, because it's invisible. The only cord you have is the field cord that keeps you bound to your physical body so you can experience the growth of being a human being. And for those younger souls, or the 7th stage young souls, because you're moving into the mature soul, if you need the sound of my voice and this resonates with you, then allow for it to just simmer in it. You don't have to take every single thing I said forward. See if it resonates with you. And if it resonates with you, it's time to move on from that victim mentality. You're not a victim. You're a god, a goddess. And sometimes it takes somebody like myself to remind you that you are a god. All right. That's my message for today. Hope you guys enjoy. Later on this afternoon, tomorrow, I'll be doing in the afternoon, I'll be doing an Ask Astro. So when we focus on answering questions astrologically, I'll be right there. All right. See you guys tomorrow. Hope you enjoy the rest of your day.